Bob. Thanks for joining us. Welcome, everybody. Another episode on Constructing Excellence, Yorkshire and Humber. This week's guest is Bob Bennett. As some of you may have seen, Bob put out a post in the week that actually went quite viral for the right reasons. And I just wanted to kind of bring Bob on to talk a little bit more about it. So what we'll do is, first, Bob, we'll just introduce yourself, if that's okay.
Okay, Bob Bennett. Bob Bennett. I'm site manager. I've been in the industry probably a lot longer than most people have. I've been actively in it since I've been 16, really, although my education didn't finish till I was 20. I'm in my mid-50s now. I've had 32 years in management, seen a lot, met a lot of people, lost a lot of people. So, great. It's just nice to get this opportunity, I think, to speak about something that's a little bit raw to a lot of people, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think to find a solution really for how we go forward.
No, definitely, Bob. I'm going to read out your post, if that's okay, because I think it hit hard. So I'll bring this up on screen for anyone that's watching. So Bob wrote in the week, "What the hell is wrong with our industry? It takes so many of our friends and colleagues. I don't mean accidents, as tragically accidents do happen, but I'm talking about the S word. I broke down in tears yesterday to the news of an excellent site manager losing his life to the stresses of life. When will higher management figure this out? In my personal opinion, I believe that everyone from planners down to site management should take a deep insight into why this is occurring and finally put an end to it. Saving pennies and slicing programs causes stress, anxiety, and depression, and it endangers many lives throughout the industry. In 32 years of management, I've seen too many young lives ending up in coffins. One person per year is bad enough, but 2.5 per week is totally unacceptable. Please make it stop." So this came up on my feed, Bob, and we were actually connected. I just think it got so much traction so quickly that it literally went on everybody's feeds in construction. And the last time we spoke, which was yesterday, you had over 250,000 views, impressions on this post. I've no doubt it's gone on past that now. But do you just want to talk a little bit more about where this came from and what kind of triggered you to kind of put such a post out?
Well, Dan, I think it just came from anger. I was upset with the loss, and I just wanted to scream at somebody. And I literally took maybe about 5 or 6 minutes to write that post, and I thought, right, that's it. I've said my day. We'll take the dogs out for a walk, fresh in the head. And I never really expected it to do what it has. In fact, I'm such a dinosaur. My 28-year-old son had sit me down the other day and tell me what going viral actually meant. I thought I had a virus on my phone. I really am that stupid when it comes to IT. I'm not that stupid, but obviously that kind of life, that kind of part of life doesn't really make me who I am. I'm a kind of people's person, and I suppose year in and year out, you see the same old faces going around in construction. You meet them on most sites. It's like having a reunion again, speaking to the old boys and chatting to them. And every so often, you miss a partner of a worker, and you say, "Well, where's John, my mate, or Joe?" And that's when the eyes drop to the floor, and you realise they're no longer with us.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's probably where it stemmed from. The gentleman question, and I won't mention his name because obviously I don't want the family to suffer any more than they are suffering. I know it seems shameful by some families, but it shouldn't be, because it's happening, and it's not just happening in construction. I've been reading over the last couple of days, and it's prevalent through every environment, and it's something that's becoming gradually more and more worse. But for us in the construction industry, and having such brilliant platforms as the health and safety exec, I just wondered why it's not being recorded as radar. And what the purpose is behind that. Now, I've asked a couple of HSE operatives to approach me on this, and so far nobody has. But yeah, there's a lot of stress and anxiety, fear in the industry, and it's right from the bottom all the way up. And I can't point my finger and say it's the responsibility of one person or the other. And I think individually, nobody's to blame, but combined, I think we're all to blame.
Yeah.
There's no legalization put into our organisation to monitor this. And that's what just annoys me, that all these good lives are just going to waste, that nobody's asking the question why.
Yeah.
So
It's a fair point. It is, Bob. It's I've worked in construction for just over 20 years, and I've never been kind of on the front line of it. Just, I've never been on the sites. I've always been kind of in the back end, the commercial side of it, I guess. But I'm involved with a lot of organisations that do a lot of work in this stuff, and you're absolutely right. It shouldn't happen, and I think construction creates its own stress. It just naturally does, and the financials are a big part of that. And usually, it's when it gets to site, that's when it's been squeezed the most. That's when, the deadlines are there, the money isn't there, and this amount of pressure just loads up. I guess in your time then in construction, do you feel it's always been the same as that? Has it got better over the years, or
Dan, it's got worse.
got worse?
It has got worse. I've always been very, very keen on health and safety, and I think I've been very fortunate, if not extremely lucky, to have no radar accidents whatsoever in 32 years. I've never had a suicide on my side, but there's been a lot more accidents in the earlier years than those suicides. The accidents, I think, when I got into the industry, was up around 2,500 per year, which is an incredible high number.
Yeah.
I think we've got that down to about 100 or around that now per year as accidents, which is still extremely high. And as I said in my initial pause, you're going to get accidents. Accidents happen.
Yeah.
Even with the utmost amount of planning, risk assessments, method statements, you name it, you can't prevent accidents. You can't fully risk them out. But what you can do is keep an eye on your workforce, your colleagues, and make sure that they're operating within their own brains, basically,
Yeah.
that they are working correctly.
Yeah.
Now, you hit the nail on the head. It's a very stressful industry, but it's stressful for so many reasons. I mean, most of us are getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, getting a shave, a shower, biting cereal, getting into the car, driving across the country. It could be hail, rain, snow, ice, hurricanes, you name it. There could be crashes, collisions on the motorways, people end up late. If they're not there for their induction, some of them are sent home. If they do get in for their induction, they've wasted a half a day. If they're on price work, they're stressed with that. They've already lost a half a day. Some inductions go on for almost a full day, so they've lost a full day's work. But it's not just that. We've got trades crisscrossing from Manchester to Leeds and vice versa, when local people should be given local jobs. There's all the new rulings with health and safety. You've got people trying to cover their bums all the time with 5 bits of PPE, I mean, ridiculous, maybe cotton gloves in offices and stuff like that. If they're going to those extremes, why aren't we going to those extremes to look after the mentality of our workforce?
Oh, do you know what? You're absolutely right, and you're going down a path here, which, to be fair, I think you know where I'm going with this. It's because it feels like everyone it's done to protect the businesses rather than the person, you know. And
Dan,
it's
I'm not pointing a finger. I'm not pointing a finger at all individuals, anybody, because I've
yeah,
worked in that industry all my life. I've loved that industry. I still love it. I am Bob the Builder when it comes to it, but I do enjoy it. I really do. But what I don't enjoy is the way that it's going off on a tangent at the
yeah,
moment. And I don't think it's the responsibility, like I say, of one individual. It's in all aspects. It's in every level. And there's no legalization set down by any organization to prevent all this from occurring.
yeah.
And if we are so keen to keep accidents down on site, why aren't we so keen to look after the mentality of a workforce?
Yeah,
This doesn't make sense.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I've had lots of chats over the last 6 months with some really, really good companies that are definitely trying to make a difference here. And this is all, you know, through things of what I think the big thing as well is people talking about it, whether they're feeling low, you know, to come out and talk about it. There's some amazing charities out there doing some great work, you know, like the Lighthouse Construction Charity, and they're there to support. The problem is, like what that guy spoke to you about, is that a lot of people just want to be listened to, and sometimes even going to something that big can make them feel anxiety, and it's just finding the right balance to be able to someone to come forward. And you know, we have a big thing on this, don't we, about speaking up and asking people if they're okay. Because genuinely, that question alone is, you know, are you okay, can be huge. But um, it's a really, really fine line, and it shouldn't happen, Bob. That, you know, ultimately it shouldn't happen, but it does. That's the sad reality. It does, and I think with what you posted, getting that much traction is because there is so many more people that think the same. But I just don't know if everyone knows how to fix it. That's, you know, that's a problem.
Dan, you're right, because what I didn't expect over the last few days was the amount of people that reached out personally to me.
Yeah,
People people who are on that threshold and telling me about it, telling me about what they're going to do next.
so you've had
And
that. You've actually had people reach out off the
I've
back
had,
of
I've had
like,
conversations like that, yeah. And one thing that was explained to me, and explained by quite a few, is that once they've made the decision into what they're going to do and how they're going to end their life, they become a different person.
yeah,
They become a happier person. They become enlightened. They just feel like they've got it all worked out, and they become happy, and life and soul of Darty. And nobody suspects what they're going to do next because they look so happy. And it's been difficult to speak to these people, but to try and talk them out of it.
yeah,
And those are the ones that were brave enough to come across to me. But it's not just felt here, I think, in England. I've had messages from the United States, from New Zealand, Australia, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Northern Ireland, Ireland, and South Africa. And everybody's feeling the same pinch. Everybody, I don't think it's just in this country. I think they're feeling the pinch everywhere.
yeah,
And maybe it's just a sign of the times. Maybe it's just we're not keeping up with the times. I don't know. If I had an answer, I'd gladly say it, but I don't have that answer.
no, no,
I'm
you're
not.
right.
I'm not a professional. I'm not qualified to do or say or speak to these people. But I've had 32 years of experience, and I'll tell you a little tale in a minute when you finish. But that's where I'm at with that. There's people reaching out, and if I can direct them to somebody else, I'd be
Yeah.
happy to do that.
That's amazing on its own, honestly. The fact that you posted that and you've had people reach out to talk to you about it. So that's the thing. When I reposted your post to say that we'd reached out and we wanted to kind of keep it going, and at the end of my post, I put, here's a charity, to reach out. The problem is, I think with that kind of calling, it's very passive. Here's a charity,
It
reach
is.
out, here's a charity, reach out if you want to. It's the wrong message, and I think is how we go about it. But weirdly, your post did enough for people to then reach out to talk to you about it. So, it shouldn't take an event though for that to happen, which is really, really, it's pants, isn't it? It's not
Correct.
great. So, but tell me this tale. You were gonna, you got a story, like story. Oh no.
So, I was born in the west of Ireland, in, oh God, 67. I came over here when I was 20. After a couple of weeks, I met my wife to be. She's still with me, thankfully. She's a very strong woman, and she keeps me straight, fair play. But some evenings, I'll come home, and she'll say, "Go on, what's up?" I call it the 1,000-yard stare. I think I took it off some movie a long time ago. It's a certain look that you see in people's eyes on sight, where they look straight through you. You're invisible. They don't hear you, they don't see you, they don't acknowledge you. They just go on with the work mundanely. And I've been around long enough to understand that Joe's hurting because his wife kicked him out the night before, or somebody's mum's died, or something like that. And I think I did say it in a post someplace, when I see people in that state, the tea and biscuits gets attacked, and I just lock the door and I just keep everybody else out. Now, my contracts manager or my regional director walked in at that point in time, and I've got the door locked, and I'm dealing with Tom because he's in that state. They probably wouldn't take that as being a very efficient site manager, whereas I'm seeing Tom as being a very efficient worker. And I need him back tomorrow to complete that work, and for all the weeks to come, and after that as well. So if I can help in any small way on a site basis to make that happen, that is what I'm going to do for the benefit of myself and Tom and the company.
Yeah.
Whether that's seen by the upper hierarchy as correct, I don't know. But I use that 1,000-yard stare, and please, if you look around it, guys, look around on site. If you see a guy with a 1,000-yard stare, where he's looking into oblivion, he's just totally lost, you know there's an issue. That's one of the first highlights that I pick up on. And I don't know why, but I've got this sixth sense that I can see it before it happens. I know these people are hurting, and I think it's that early insight into that. If we can make the difference as site managers, project managers, contracts managers, directors, regional directors, any kind of person in management, if we can make that difference by recognizing that early doors, maybe that's the first step.
Yeah. 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 Identifying it, picking it up. And that probably comes from your experience of being around for people for so long. And, has this whole kind of, obviously it's been an issue for a while, but do you think this kind of last couple of weeks has made you kind of refocus on like what you'd like to do next? I know we spoke briefly before we came on about what work you're involved with, but do you think this is kind of giving you a bit of a hunger to dip back in and maybe change role of what you've done in the past, from maybe site management into helping and supporting businesses with this type of work?
Dan, I wouldn't knock it back. If there's one person, just one person that I could prevent from going down that route, I'd certainly help. Like I say, I've no form of training. I'm not professional. I'm not qualified. I don't even think I'm qualified to be speaking to you now. But if there's any which way I can help, I'll certainly help. I haven't got an issue with that. I'm good at site managing. Job I can do, project managing, looking after the chaps, the health and safety, quantity, quality, all the rest. That's what I do. That's what I'm good at. That's what I'd like to carry on doing.
Yeah.
But as a sideline, maybe evenings or weekends, if we could help out in another area, It's something I'd look at. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to know. There's some good, there's some good organisations out there that do a lot of work, but the more people that we have, like you say, that sixth sense, as you could call it, people don't have that. You look at people and they're having a bad day and they come into the office and I mean, sites can be such hostile places. I've been onto sites to undertake surveys, and then you walk in and the site manager's super stressed, and what do you want? And we ain't got time. You can feel it on site. It's like
There's
they're
never
full
time.
pressure cookers. I bet. And
No
I
time. There's no
oh,
time. There's never any time.
and my best friend he's a lift engineer, so he spends all his time on main contractor sites, on these big old sites, and it's the same on them all. And then you've got the good companies that he likes to work for, because you'll walk in and they'll say, "Oh, sign that, sign yourself in, sit down for a cup of tea, let's talk about your day." He says, so you go to other sites and they'll make you sit for an hour before you can sign in because they weren't expecting you to be there. And it's that change can flip somebody's attitude immediately. I've never been a fan of going on main sites. I just haven't, because I feel really unwelcome. I feel like I'm not supposed to be here. And it shouldn't feel like that. It really shouldn't feel like that. So if I feel like that, and I would class myself as a construction professional, where I can sit in meetings and and high-end design meetings, yet I feel this big when I walk into a main contractor site. How does everybody else feel? And can knock you off your day. So that's just a bit of my personal experience with sites, I think.
I think you're right on that aspect, and what people don't realise, it's the small things that actually stop large projects. Like, for
Yeah,
example, if you get all the blocks and the sand and the cement and everything else for your brickies, but you forget to get them the ties and the insulation, or the job stops. The job stops. Some sites at the moment aren't allowing trades to recharge the batteries on site because the risk of fire. So now they've got to go home, get all the batteries out, take them out of the van, go into the car, charge them up, bring them back to work. Why? Why not create an area where everybody can charge? It's little things that's pushing people over the edge, pushing people constantly. And that's just on a side level, but creeps further and further and further up the line. And I think I did mention it in one, and I'm not attacking the banks because everybody needs the banks, but the banks are struggling as well. And the banks are always shaving deadlines down, and they don't want the money tied up somewhere if they're not getting the correct interest rates back. So it starts there. It goes from that to lawyers, solicitors, and barristers that deal with clients, the councils, and planning, and everything down.
yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. It's right the way across the interstate, right from the top all the way to the bottom. It clearly needs to be relooked at.
yeah. Yeah, it absolutely does, Paul. But it's sad. It is. It's hard to hear. And I think what I guess this whole thing, what we're trying to do is just understand it more, especially from my point of view. I've not been in a situation like you have, where you've known somebody that's done that. I kind of just go off, you know, on my way. But I'm involved in construction. That's the thing. But I'm involved in it from a different part of it, and it's people like me that need to learn, because I don't see. I don't see that end. I'm always part of the design team, or I'm always part of the business development. So I'm part of generating work. Yeah, actually, when it goes to site and live, I'm very kind of, I'm aware, but I'm not in it. And I'm like I say, massively appreciative that you've come on and spoke about it, because I think these sessions help me. They help me understand, and even if it's just me going on site next week and just having that different view of like what you've said today, picking up on things. But I think we're all responsible, no matter where you are within it. We all work in construction. But what would you question now? what would you change, and how do you think it could be better? I think that's a good question. How do you think it could be better?
Well, looking back, I think it was about 15 years ago that most larger companies realized that if they extended the hours in the day from 8 hours to 12 hours, they were getting more production. So they could shave weeks off the program. But that doesn't work.
No.
And again, for a variance of reasons, because you might have a collision on the motorway, you might not get all your staff in that day. You might have brickies not turn up because it's bad weather. It might be too sick on the roof for the joiners to work.
Yeah.
There's so many, there's hundreds of reasons why it's not working. But one of the major reasons, and you said it yourself earlier on, no time for you. Nobody's got time to be on site. You're expected to run in, dart around like a blue bum fly, get everything done in the times you're supposed to do it safely, which is impossible to do it safely and quickly, and then you're expected to come back in and do the same thing the very next day.
Yeah.
But if you drop one link in that chain, just one link, your program slides, it slips and goes back. It puts more pressure on, more and more pressure. The chapter's late, and for example, if you're late and you get in at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're already holding up more trades behind you because they're waiting for you to do something in front while they can come round and carry on behind you. That guy who's working on price, he might only have 4 hours in for the day, 5 hours. So then he forces himself to wait back till the close of business, which might be 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening, to get that work done, which is putting extra stresses onto him. He's driving home in a tired state, falling asleep at the wheel, gets home, his children are in bed. They're already bathing up to bed. The stresses of that whilst he's on children, his wife, girlfriend carrying on with him, his getting like the dog. There's so many things that cause the stress. And it's all from the little things that happens on site. And then it snowballs. It just becomes an incredible problem that nobody can get over because there's no contingencies in the programs for any delays.
Yes, human error. Do you know what? It's a really, really good point. We don't count for human error in any project, do we? We just presume programs on.
No.
Do you know?
There's no such thing as bank holidays. Yeah, and they don't wipe off the days for bank holidays. They expect you to come in and work them or catch up. Same thing on weekends. Same thing with employment weather. And gradually, all programs will slip behind, and then there's a mad rush at the end to put it all right. You never get that time to complete and fix the job. You never get time to say to the workers, "You've done a great job. Let's take a few days off, get your rest in." That never happens. You say, "I need you on Saturday, I need you on Sunday, I need you to work later." It's wrong what we're doing.
You're absolutely. Have you ever seen it's late. Have you ever seen the film Sully, the aeroplane that crashed in the River Hudson long time ago in New York?
Yes.
Right. There's a court scene. Yes, Tom Hanks, that's it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it talks about why he crashed in the river and he couldn't get to an airport. And they did a test module, and once the plane had hit the birds, they turned the aeroplane and they landed on the airport. So they were blaming the captain for landing in the river, saying it was done on purpose. Anyway, he was super experienced and he came in and he told the court, "You're not taking into account human error." And they said, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And they redid the demonstration, taking human error. And it turns out that when you run the human part, you were never making it to the airport. And I think this is a very, very similar thing. When we put tender packs together, do we account for human error? And do we account for everything else included? You'll see businesses winning contracts on the fact they can get it done quicker. So they may be a little bit, so it kind of counteracts itself completely. So as soon as we have the first human error on week 1, that could be a product not arriving in stock, that can be someone being ill. You are then behind by 2 or 3 weeks for the next 4 months. And then you get these problems. I've never thought of it like this, so this is really, really interesting chat. And I think Dewey then, like weeks probably need to be adding onto programs to allow for just general human error and human time off. Maybe.
It's a snowball effect. It'll start off as a marble, grow into an handball, grow into a basketball, then Olympic done. And it goes further and further and further back. And that's because you're losing those spaces for each specific contractor to come in. They've lost 3 spaces, but now they're not working in Leeds anymore. They're working in Manchester, and we'll see you next week. But then that might put the next contract behind them out by 2 weeks, and the next contract behind them by a month. It snowballs.
Wow.
It becomes an impossibility. And without those contingencies for time in the program, you can't better that. It's impossible. A lot of people might be lucky in pulling papers and stuff like that, or sweet talk, but on a whole, it's very, very difficult to get the program back on track.
You shouldn't have to, should you? I totally get it, but do you know what? Genuinely, I've never thought about like that. So just this chat alone has just opened my eyes a little bit. Like I've always thought, honestly, why is everyone so stressed? Like why is everyone so stressed on the site? And it's I'm naive. I don't know. I don't work on the site, so I walk on site like everyone. I mean to do my survey, and everyone's like, I ain't got time to talk, and I'm just like, these are really hostile places to be. And now it's making sense. They're probably already 4 weeks behind program. So I guess the question is, how do you fix it? I think it goes all the way back to the beginning, right at tender stage, which is, stop trying to win it on time and maybe take that into account. But then I guess how long have you had onto a project? A month?
Well, I remember back in the old days when you had 3 solid weeks just for the decorators to come in to complete the work, and they might 3 weeks. Now you don't get 3 days. That's what I mean. It's so tight. It's so tight. I remember handing jobs over a month in advance because the programs were that spaced out. You'd have to be clueless not to get it right.
So we've got worse. So where have we gone wrong then? Do you think have we just got greedier?
Greedier.
Yeah.
Greedier.
People wanting to win contracts.
Tender stage, you're quite right. You might get a perfectly reasonable thinking Joe Blogs. He'll put a cost of 1 million in to do a project in 9 months. The next man will cut him for 950 in 7 months.
Right.
And it goes down and down and down until eventually somebody's actually buying the work, but they'll go broke.
They'll go broke.
Well, then they'll open up the next day. They'll open up the next day on somebody else.
Yeah, I totally get that. And then unfortunately, the people in the system all get to this situation, which is what brought us here in the first place, which is what brought us to here.
Everybody loses money.
This is really interesting because I think we sit here sometimes and talk about how we can help people and individuals, and that's super, super important. Of course it is, with the charities that we've got, like the Lighthouse Construction Charity, and people speaking out about it. But actually, when you go digging, Bob, and you dig a little bit deeper, you realise that actually the systems that we've got in place are causing 99% of it. Of course, you're going to get people stressed that come to work naturally, but I think that a lot of it could be avoided with better planning. I'd be interested to take this on. This conversation won't finish here. It absolutely won't. Constructing excellence is to share best practice. That's what we do. We want people to talk about best practice and bring up subjects like this. But I think it'd be good to kind of lean on some of the big main contractors and just get their input into it to understand how they tender, whether human error, etc., is taken into consideration for their tender processes. I think we'll get some honesty from them, I'm sure you'll agree that there's a lot of amazing main contractors out there, which there is, but you get the few which.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
good to get their input into this to see actually what what their thoughts are.
The other thing that you'll think I'm a bit sad for this, Dan, but one thing I've actually had the time to do is to check out each individual and what the comments were. And yeah, I've read them a number of times, but I wanted to see who was actually putting those comments in. And I told you they were all lower management, but it was the comments in general. And one that came up pretty often was construction industry is broken. And it is. The construction industry is broken. We're just a squabble of rats scratching around in the bottom of an empty barrel trying to make a living. Yeah. We're in one of the most dangerous industries that's out there. That's getting a little bit safer on accidents, but causing stress on the other side. So we're alleviating the accidents, but we're increasing stress, anxiety, depression. And like I said earlier on, I cannot, and nobody can, I don't suppose anybody out there can point a finger at one particular part of this industry and says that's wrong. We've let it slip for too long. There's no legalisation that binds it all together. And that's unfortunate. CDM, they're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah.
HSE, you'd like to think they'd take aboard that, but they're not supplying any figures on suicides. And I wonder why. And again, I'm not at the HSE. We need them. And I've got some great friends at HSE officers that also said this to them. But everybody, I think, just feels stand back, look in the mirror and say, what is it that I am not doing that I can pass along to the next platform to make this work?
Yeah. Now, do you know what? Totally
do we
right.
create a body? Do we create a body within the construction industry as part of CDM or HSE or combined to actually go into this? Because you know, and I know, that Joe Bloggs, who's the CEO of the company, is going to say, that's going to cost me too much, or we haven't got the time, we can't compete with that other company down the road who's doing it for less and in a short space of time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say it's greed. Yeah, you've got to build a company and you've got to profit. But you can't profit on people's lives.
No, you can't. Well, obviously after Grenfell, we had a whole reform, didn't we? And that whole process, the Building Safety Act came in place, and we unfortunately, we were self-regulated under any high-risk building, and now that has now been taken away from us as an industry, and it's now under government watch, ultimately. But how many deaths are we having in mental health itself? So you're right, you're absolutely right. It's as if there needs to be something else created to support that. It shouldn't happen. It really shouldn't. I've not really spoke to anybody in length about this for forever, to be perfectly honest. I've really, really enjoyed this, just kind of coming on and chatting openly about it. And I think that it'd be really, really good to continue this, off the back of this, maybe get together with a few other people, because I realise that the only people that can change it, Bob, is people like me and you, in all honesty. Not just me and you, but what I'm saying is just ordinary people that care about the industry are the ones that can make the changes. But you feel like you just feel like you're just not being heard, don't you? That's the thing. Who's listening? And I think that's where we all kind
That's
of,
it.
who is listening. And even if platforms like this can help, just keep getting the message out. But I don't just want this to be a case of you come on here, you talk about the story, and then it disappears, because that's what tends to happen. And then
no, and I don't want that to happen either. I think that the amount of, I'm trying to find the right words, Dan. The amount of anger and frustration that are seen in all those comments in personal messages. People are hurting, and they know the industry is broken. Yeah. They know it's getting worse, Just nothing getting better. That's for sure. It's not getting better at all because nobody's making the kind of money that they were making 30 years ago. I was making more money 30 years ago than I am now.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You can't make it anymore. It's not there to be made. But yet, what other branch do you actually put yourself at? Do I become Morrison's driver or, do I start, I don't know, sweep the streets? Good God, I don't know. I've got an expertise in what I do, but I'm not ready to start a new career just because somebody else is getting it wrong. Let's fix the wrongs and make it right.
Yeah.
There was a beautiful message in there from one of the guys saying that something about equality, bringing women into the industry. And I'm all for that. And I have worked with some excellent ladies over the years that were phenomenally good at what they did. But they were so calm and cool and that on side. But again, my argument is if we're going to be bringing our wives and our girlfriends and our sisters and our sister-in-laws or whatever onto side, at least mend what's broken first before we start putting them at risk. Because next thing we know, it'll just not be the men. It'll be the women. Because it will grind us all down eventually.
Yeah.
And nobody's looking towards that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just too outspoken, I don't know, but that's how I feel.
No, it's true. We're struggling, Bob, with bringing people into the industry. We are, genuinely. People don't want to leave school anymore and get into construction. It's a real challenge. So add on top of that, the fact that pays, is not the best. And add on top of that it's one of the most stressful environments and the most dangerous in the world. We're not a very appealing sector to want to get into. And I've been on lots and lots of seminars with lots and lots of colleges who talk about we need more people in the industry. And it's like we need to fix it first before we bring people in and groom them into this model because it's clearly not working. Bob, we're going to end this because it's been absolutely incredible, and it's not going to end here. It's absolutely not. I think that there's still lots of work to do. But I'd just like to say thank you so much for coming on and talking to me about it. It's been a pleasure. But just before we cut off, is there any final words you would like to say?
Well, obviously I'd like to give out condolences to the family, which I can't name, but our thoughts are with you. And possibly for everybody else who's feeling the pinch. And for CEOs, managers, directors, you've all had the losses that I've had in some ways, shape or form. I mean, I've had personal messages from some of them saying they've had similar instances. Let's collectively, put the boot down. Let's make this work. Let's make it happen. I'm not clever enough to understand how to organize a revolution, if it's a revolution is the right name, but let's please all come together, figure out what's broken, how it needs to be mended, and look forward to a future where we can actually bring our families safe on site without pressure of mental health or accidents and make a few quid. Because you're sat in a house right now, Dan, and when you go into work, you've got a lovely office. Somebody had to build those. Let's think about the builders. All these houses and businesses all through Britain were all built by builders. It's turning into a terrible industry, and it's inflicting great pain on us all. We need to change that. We need to bring it back to where it was. That's all I can say.
No, that's lovely, Bob. Thank you so much. Anybody listening, Bob made some really good points there. You can reach out to us at Constructing Excellence. Our email is ceyhclub.co.uk. Reach out to myself or even Bob. I know that people have been messaging online on LinkedIn as well. But yes, Bob, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll catch up shortly.
Thank you very much, Dan. Have a great day.